I do think that some of you could have guessed some of the 5 skills that I presented in the first part of this video. I am also sure though that some of the skills that I present in this part of the video are missing on your list. My name is still Hendrik, and this is the second part of the video where I present my personal list of top 10 skills that make a good SAP EWM consultant. In case you missed the first part of this video, I would like you to stop here and click the link and first consume the first part where I present the 5 skills that I called the foundation. So those were rather technical, functional skills that are required to build a foundation of knowledge where we then put the softer side, so the part of the skills that I call the soft side of the SAP EWM consultant, that we put then on top of this foundation. I am also planning to record a third part of this video, and in this third part I would like to feature and present your favorites. So those skills that you think are important but missing on my list of top 10 skills. And I would like you to write those skills into the comment of this video or send them to me via direct messages on LinkedIn, for instance, or any other option you find to reach out to me. With that, let us jump into the main part of this video with skill number 6 on my list, which is communication. When you think that the daily job or the typical daily routine of an EWM consultant is sitting at a computer, working with the software the whole day, configuring, changing stuff, testing stuff, and so on, you're wrong. A big part, most probably 30 to 60% of the job and the tasks of an EWM consultant is communication. That starts in the sales phase of the project, where you talk to the purchasing or the management department of potential customers. That goes on in the specification phase, when you talk to the business team, define requirements, define processes. In the implementation phase, where you sit together with your development team or other consultants to design solutions, and it proceeds in the testing phase, ramp-up phase, where you work together with the end users, the key users, and last but not least, in the on-site support and hypercare phases, where you work together closely with the operators in the warehouse and communicate and talk to those people. And if communication is such a big part of a job of an EWM consultant, then it makes a lot of sense that it is also part of the top 10 skills that you need to have, and that it makes sense that you are good in communication. For me personally, the things that are important are mainly 3, which I make myself aware of from time to time. The first one is clarity and structure. So given the fact that we are handling and designing and talking about complex processes when we are working with EWM, it makes sense that you try to break whatever you are trying to communicate down in easy and digestible packages, depending on the person, the counterparty you are communicating with. So reflect before you talk, think about what you want to communicate and how you structure it in a way that the receiver of your messages can understand what you are trying to submit. The second point that is important from my perspective is consideration. So think about who is the receiver of your messages and your communication, and what kind of a background does this receiver have. So a manager in the sales phase or somebody from the purchasing department is expecting a different level of communication than a developer in the specification phase that you communicate with to design an enhancement, or an end user, a key user, an operator in the warehouse later. So try to put yourself into the role of into the position of your counterparty. Try to view the topic that you're talking about from their perspective, from their eyes, and then communicate in a way that the person understands what you are trying to communicate. And the third important point from my perspective is cultural awareness. And this is important due to the fact that working with EWM usually means working in multicultural teams. Most of you will probably relate to that in some way. At least for me personally, I've never worked in an EWM project where we did not have at least 2 or 3 different nationalities, cultures and so on within one team, which is great actually, which is one of the things why I love this job so much. But you need to be aware that different cultures communicate in different ways. For example, and this is a common example, and most of you probably have experienced that on your own when you put Germans and Indians together in an SAP project. There are many people from Germany working with SAP EWM and even more from India working with SAP EWM, and you very often have projects where both nationalities come together and work together, which is good, but the German way of communication, a very rough and structured and direct way compared to the Indian way, a rather softer, indirect and very respectful way, does not really fit to each other. It does work out though if both parties are aware of the cultural differences. If you're not aware, then you might end up in situations where you have misunderstandings, or people think you act respectless, or people just don't feel treated well in such setups. But in case you are aware of this, and this is something that you can learn, that you can study, and you can also learn by doing, then communication does also work out in such a setting and such an environment. Creativity and innovativeness is skill number 7 on my list. Working with EWM means working as an engineer, designing solutions based on ever-changing requirements, or designing or coming up with solutions to solve problems. And when you design solutions to such requirements or problems, it is helpful for you to have the ability to apply certain techniques to come up with creative and innovative solutions to what you want to try to realize. And you can learn that stuff, and that helps you a lot in certain phases when working with warehouse management software. Couple of points that I would like to mention here. 4 in total. The first one is emphasizing with the users. So whenever you try to design a solution for a requirement or a problem, try to put yourself into the role of the users or the operators that are dealing with the problem or dealing with the software that you are trying to deliver. So easy example, put yourself in the role of a picker going through the picking process, maybe even do that physically, accompany the pickers and watch at the process from their perspective. Second point is problem solving. So there are a couple of techniques to identify the core of a problem. One example could be the 5 whys, where you're always asking why and why and why until you end up with the core of the problem. For example, you have a situation where you have a lot of mistakes and errors made during the picking process, and then you ask the question, why do the operators make so many mistakes during picking? Because the product is being stored on the wrong bin. Why is the product being stored on the wrong bin? Because the put-away operator placed it on the wrong bin. Why did the put-away operator place it on the wrong bin? Because the operator does not have to confirm the product or the HU number or the bin number. Why does the operator not have to confirm the bin number? Because there is no barcode label. Why is there no barcode label? And so on and so on and so on. Now you get my point. There are some techniques that you can actually learn. The third point that I would like to mention here is ideate. So there are techniques actually that you can learn and then use to come up with ideas. There are different techniques like I don't know, SWOT, mind mapping, reverse brainstorming. You can Google that stuff. You'll find a lot of examples and a lot of approaches how you can tackle such problem solving or solution development processes in a structured approach. The fourth point that I would like to mention here is prototyping. And prototyping always makes sense to make sure that you are not going to a wrong direction with what you are trying to develop. And in this prototyping process, it's very important to make sure that you have people with different perspectives to the solution and to the problem in your iterations. You come up with a prototype, for example, for a user dialogue or something, and then you should get, of course, your customers, your users, your developers, your consultants in your iteration reviews and get their perspective to the current state of things. So prototyping makes a lot of sense in this process to get different perspectives of the current state of your solution.
Before we proceed, just a quick reminder that this channel lives from you subscribing and of course hitting the like button. So please do that real quick before we proceed with the next point. Thanks a lot, and back to Hendrik.
Those 2 tips were very extensive. I explained them in a very detailed way, and I promise that the last 3 are more straightforward, a bit simpler and not that tough to digest. Point number 8 is my personal favorite, and it is humility. Working with SAP EWM means working with complex processes, complex requirements, and a very complex software. There are hundreds, thousands of lines of code, endless variations and combinations for configurations of the functionalities, and even the senior principal, whatever kind of consultant sitting next to you with 25 plus years of experience will never ever understand and know everything about every single feature, functionality, or package of code within the latest version of your EWM system. Humans always have the tendency to build complex solutions to complex problems. And especially with EWM, it's comparably easy to build a complex solution that becomes a monster that you cannot control anymore. I have seen different project teams building solutions that at the end of the day nobody really understood anymore, nobody could maintain and support anymore, and this is maybe something that covered all the requirements, but at the end nobody is really happy with such a solution. And I do think that it is helpful for EWM consultant to take one step back from time to time, reflect a certain requirement, and be aware that it's okay to say no from time to time, or also to say I don't know. I know that doesn't feel good, especially your ego as an experienced EWM consultant does not want to give such a statement, but it's okay if you don't feel comfortable to realize a certain requirement in a certain way. It's sometimes just helpful not to do it. And make yourself aware that with such a complex software in a complex warehousing environment, it happens faster than you want that you build a complex solution that nobody can control anymore. And this awareness, this humility, helps to avoid overconfidence and to bring yourself and your team in a painful and unhealthy situation and environment. And if I say painful and unhealthy, I really mean physical pain in terms of like working overtime, working nights, working weekends, and having a lot of pressure from your customers, but also in terms of financial pain for you personally, for your team, or for your employer. Skill number 9 on my list is networking and helping each other. I mentioned that before a couple of times. EWM is already very complex with all those lines of codes, all those functionalities. And then around EWM you have all these ERP modules. You might even have some SCM components like transportation management. And there's an endless range of features, functionalities, options to solve specific problems, and you have this limited capacity over here, and it is impossible that you handle all this stuff, answer all the questions, solve all the problems on your own. And usually in the project setup, your, let's say, first level support for your personal functional technical questions is the colleague next to you, and then you have a project team or a department with other consultants, developers, or experienced people that could help you. But at some point, probably you will end up in a situation where even your in-house team, your colleagues, your close circle of contacts does not have the ability to solve your problems and answer your questions. And at this point, the global community of EWM consultants and developers working worldwide with EWM comes into the game. I'm personally impressed again and again by the openness and the willingness of the global community to help each other. There are many WhatsApp groups, blogs, the SCN community, LinkedIn groups, and so on, where you only have to drop a question and within minutes somebody from the other side of the world drops his or her pens and provides his or her knowledge to answer your question. And this is really impressive, and I do think that you as an EWM consultant should make use of this possibility to solve your problems in a more efficient way. On the other side, I think that you as a consultant or developer should also give something back to the community. So if you have knowledge to share that could help others, if you have answers to problems of others, you should take some of your time, give it to the community, because a day will come that you also depend on the community and want to make use of what the community can give and can do for you. Point number 10 on my list is a point that some of you probably did not expect on this list of top 10 skills of an EWM consultant, and it is well-being. The world of SAP EWM, or the world of working with SAP EWM, is very demanding. If you are not chased by your boss, by your colleagues in the project, or by your customer to deliver a solution, you're probably chased by your own ego to become better day by day. And you will find yourself again and again in very stressful project phases where you are working long days, weekends, overtime, where you get a lot of pressure from running operations, from customers, from different stakeholders, potentially also financial stress in different projects. And if you are not in a stressful situation in the project, you frequently find yourself working remote, working in your home office, sitting at the computer at the desk the whole day, and maybe counting 500 steps at the end of the day. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is not healthy at all. Yeah, you can certainly spend every free minute of your day studying every single line of ABAP code in your SAP system. You can try to become a developer at the same time while being a consultant. You can try to become a EWM and a ERP and a SDM, MPP, QM consultant, and maybe also be an TM expert at the same time, and spend your whole life within the SAP system. But I have a lot of doubts that you will achieve true happiness with this approach. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that I do think that one of the most important skills of a good EWM consultant is the awareness of the importance of physical and mental health. So when I say physical health, I mean that from time to time you should drop your computer, drop your pens, and get your body moving. Lift some weights, go running, go hiking, do some yoga, do some gymnastics, whatever. And when I say mental health, I'm just saying that you should reserve some time for your brain to simply switch off. Give it time to slow down and get rid of all the trash that it has to filter throughout the day. Meditate from time to time, relax, spend time in the nature, and last but not least, most important, spend some time with your loved ones. Make sure that you reserve enough time for your friends, for your family. I'm pretty sure that at the end of your days, at the end of my days, at the end of our days, we will not look back to our life and reflect and say, oh shit, I did not spend enough time with SAP EWM. And with that message, I would like to close my personal list of top 10 skills that make a good EWM consultant. And again, I would like to encourage you to give me your ideas about the skills that I missed on my list. I am sure there are some, and I would like you to write them into the comments, send me notes on LinkedIn or any other channel where you can reach me, and help me to compose a third part of this video where we summarize those points that I missed with the first and with the second part. And with that, I would like to thank you again for spending a lot of time with me here again with the first and the second part of this video. I hope that I could add some value. I hope that I could make you think about what might be useful for you in your job, in your future. Again, this is not me here telling you what you should do, what you should learn, what you should know. Now, this is just me reflecting what I found to be useful over the past 15 years in my job as an EWM consultant, and I hope that in one way or the other this was also useful for you. I hope to see you back again here with the next video. Until then, as usual, I wish you happy learning and a lot of success in your projects. Thanks again and goodbye.